Hi guys, my name is Khurram and today I am talking about mind mapping. In this video, I will cover what is mind mapping, when to use it, and how to use it. So let's start now. Mind mapping is a tool to organize thought or information through mapping. So we can say it's a mapping tool just like argument mapping, concept mapping, and so on. Mind mapping was originally promoted by Tony Wazan, who was an English author and psychology consultant. Now let's talk about how to draw mind map. We write main subject in the center of the page and then having free state of mind, we arrange all the information around the main subject. This process called mind mapping. For example, here I am representing a car. A car can have brand, a car of course have an engine, a car may have specification and so on. Now we know what to do in mind mapping. Let's have a proper definition. It's a visual, non-linear representation of ideas and their relationship. For visualization, we add images, we add color, curved lines, and so on. For non-representation of data, we arrange the whole information around the main subject instead of linear format. And for connections, we connect each information with the main subject. Mind mapping is a very handy tool for brain. For example, imagine we are sitting in the classroom and making notes in the form of list, which is very hard for brain to remember because there is no connection between these points, and human brain always try to connect or recall information through connections. And most importantly, brain doesn't work in linear format. However, mind mapping solves these problems because it represents ideas or information in non-linear format, plus it has connection so the brain can remember the information. That's why I said mind mapping is a very handy tool and it helps brain to improve performance. Now let's talk about when to use mind mapping. It is strongly advised to practice mind map whenever is possible. For example, when I decided to make video about mind mapping, I drew this map where I added these three components, plus I wrote lengthy text so I can be more focused in one specific direction, plus I added these time limitation. It's a beauty of mind mapping that there is no ideal structure. We can change mind mapping as per our requirement so we can make it more and more productive. Now let's talk about another usage of mind mapping, which is idea presentation, where we try to have more and more graphics. For example, more images, more colors, more curved lines, and so on. Imagine if I present the same information in the form of list. It's not very fascinating. So we can say mind mapping is a good presentation tool. Now let's talk about another usage of mind mapping, which is note taking. I took a course about emotional intelligence and it was about 45-minute course. After having all these points, I can revise the whole information within 5 minutes. This is the power of mind mapping. It reduces time from 45 minutes to 5 minutes. And I realized that if I add more images, then I can pinpoint the information and I can trace the information to the main subject and I can reduce my time even shorter. For example, here is a book called Simple Boundaries. It describes about limits for transparency. Transparency is just part of self-management. Transparency means how open we are to discuss our matters among the people. More transparent we are, more vulnerable we are, which is not a good idea. So we should have some limits, and limits are described in the book called Simple Boundaries. Actually, what's happening here, we are connecting the information so our brain can remember it. That's why I said mind mapping is a very handy tool and it helps the human brain to remember the information. Now let's talk about how to use mind mapping. It's a technique with no right and wrong method. We can use any format or any structure to make it more and more productive. For example, we can use it for planning. where we can write lengthy text to be focused in some specific direction. Or we can use it for data presentation, where we add more and more graphics, colors, images, curve lines, and so on. Or we can use it for note taking with less graphics. For example, simple lines, less number of images, and so on. However, Tony Bazan and other authors have described some guidelines to draw mind mapping. Let's talk about these guidelines. We should start from center of the page. So we can use all the space around the main subject by having free state of mind. Second, we should have image for the main subject. Image help us to be focused first, and secondly it describe about the main subject in short time. So we should use image for the main subject. Third, we should use more and more color. It's good practice to use unique color for each branch. Colors, especially warm colors, accelerate our imagination. So if we want to be more imaginative, then we should use more and more colors. Connection. As I said, brain always try to recall information through connections. For example, if I'm thinking about car, then brain may ask which color is this, which brand is this, how much is cost, and so on. So these all information are connected. That's why in mind mapping we connect the information so our brain can remember it. Curve lines. Many authors say straight lines are boring, so we should use curve lines. Honestly speaking, I don't feel that straight lines are boring. Yes, curved lines are more interesting than, so we should use curved lines to make mind mapping more and more interesting. Next next guideline, which says we should use keywords. Keywords, for example, tool is a keyword which says mind mapping is a sketching tool. It's not a hardware tool, not a software tool. It's a sketching tool, right? Imagine if I have drawn this mind mapping, and after few days I like to have more and more information. Then I can add price, which says mind mapping is a tool which has some price. Okay, maybe price for timing, or maybe price for learning, and so on. It has performance, maybe it's not very helpful for mind, and so on. So I can add more and more information if I'm using a tool, if I'm using a keyword. But if instead of keyword, if I would have written a text like this, what type of tool is this, then I cannot or add this is information. For example, what type of tool is this? The answer is price. It's irrelevant information. What type of tool is this? The answer is performance. It's irrelevant. So actually what happening when we add a keyword, we actually setting an open-ended point where we can add more and more information when we are more imaginative. But when we write a lengthy text, so then actually we are setting a narrow scope. Then it becomes very hard to add more information. That's why it's advised to use keywords, like here a tool. Now let's talk about next guideline, which says we should use images throughout the mind map. Images makes mind mapping more readable. For example, why we need mind mapping? To remember something, to decide something, to learn something. Who should use mind mapping? Student, researcher, housewife, and so on. How to draw mind mapping on the paper, on software, and so on. So actually mind images improves mind mapping readability, plus it makes mind map full of life. That's why we should images as much as possible. That's it. Thanks for watching and have a very nice time.